And I love fishing. I can't say it enough. I'm never giving it up. I just love it so much. I love fishing. Man, I love fishing. That's just what I do. I can't say it enough. I'm never giving it up. I just love it so much. I love fishing. Man, I love fishing. That's just what I do. See.
From deep in the heart of Central Texas, it's the Best of the Outdoors podcast, brought to you by Texas Fishing Game Magazine, the voice of the Texas outdoor nation. I'm your humble host, Dustin Warncke, the outdoor success guy, back with you with another show, and I'm so excited that you've taken the opportunity to download this show or stream it online, however you have found us. Thank you so much for doing so. That means the world to us. All right, back with another podcast this week, and really excited to connect with all you guys on social media. Please PM me or IM me, however, direct message me on Instagram. I'm at Dustin's Projects, or you can find me Dustin Warncke, Warncke on Facebook, and tell me what you think of the show. And please also leave us a positive 5-star rating on or review on any of the social platforms such as Stitcher, YouTube. iTunes, of course, is kind of the big kingpin in the podcast game. Any place like that, I appreciate those of you guys that have left us some reviews over the past few years. That really makes me happy and helps other people find the show. And then tell a friend. So just tell a friend if you enjoy this podcast and want to share this with them. We come out with a new show every 2 weeks, and I just love bringing all this to you. This is a lot of fun. So we're back with another live stream episode, which I've been doing a lot of lately, taking the podcast on the road. I got a new laptop. Actually, my wife handed me down her laptop, and I bought her a new one. That's the way. It's like federal law that your wife gets as a guy, the wife gets the better stuff. You know, it is in my household, at least. She drives a better truck, and we both own trucks, and she also gets the better laptop and the faster stuff. She's in grad school now, so that's kind of exciting what's going on there. But I got her laptop. It works perfectly for this podcast that we recorded at Freshwater Outfitters, which is my fishing ministry. I also received an award at the fishing ministry this weekend for service, and it was a certificate of appreciation that Fort Hood's Warrior in Transition Unit Brigade gave the folks that gave us as a ministry, Freshwater Outfitters ministry, and they awarded that plaque then to me, and they only get those a couple of maybe every two or 3 years or so. And I was just humbly grateful to receive such a thing. I'm going to hang it on my wall. I've already got a spot picked out. I just feel so blessed and so wonderful to be able to share this message with you of hope and inspiration in the outdoor lifestyle, and really also that I was recognized like that by Camp Agape and by Freshwater Outfitters, both in the same year as an honorarium and as an award, certificate appreciation award. So, man, I'm on fire, dude. I just love this stuff. Love this outdoor stuff. Love to teach people about hunt and fish. Love to just spread the outdoor message of all that fun stuff. And today, like I said, we've got a great podcast for you. Dennis, Martin, and Ed Hellon, or I think it's Ed Hellon, I think is the way I say his last name. Ed is just a fantastic part of our ministry. Ed and Dennis are both in the leadership board of our ministry with the fishing stuff. And what Freshwater Outfitters, I know I've talked about this one before the show, so if you're a first-time listener, just to give you a background, fishing ministry that basically, and there's such a thing as a fishing ministry too, guys with boats and a good heart. Basically, what they do is the Freshwater Outfitters guys do is minister to international students, wounded warriors, or that term's loosely thrown around a lot, disabled vets, or folks that have returned from the military that are exiting out of the military to civilian life is what the Warriors in Transition Brigade unit is about. And then also friends and neighbors of our staff, our team. We encourage each other in loving Jesus and loving God. And, it's a really cool thing to get around and do. So I live streamed this on the Facebook page for Texas Fishing Game Magazine. I told the story at the beginning how I accidentally live streamed under my personal page thinking it was a TF&G page at ICAST this year. So anyway, that was kind of silly, but live streamed this thing, and this was really cool. We had a lot of fun on this podcast, and I think you will enjoy it. If you've not done so already, please subscribe to the podcast. It is free. You get a new show every 2 weeks. We pay for this via sponsors, and also please also subscribe to our newsletters. I'll talk about that more at the end of the show. They're free as well. Tuesday is Tactical and Practical Tuesday, Wildlife Wednesday, and the Thursday Texas State of the Outdoor Nation. Those come out every every week actually, and they come out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. A lot of great information to help you in your outdoor pursuits, and I think you'll really enjoy that. So, without further ado, here is Mr. Ed Hellon and Dennis Martin from Freshwater Outfitters, our live stream this past weekend. Here we go. Make it work, I guess. So
this right here is the microphone.
that right here is a microphone. Microphone.
Check mic.
All right,
Microphone
mic
check,
check.
check,
You
check,
should have seen the
check.
last one we did. Okay, I've got to say this first before we get started. I'm there with Chester, and I go live on our video. It's really on my Facebook, not on Texas Fish and Game's Facebook. Okay, so I'm like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. I was so embarrassed, but anyway. But yeah. So, all right. So we're here at Lake Belton, Blora, Belton Lake Recreational Area, and Belton Lake Recreational Area, and basically just hanging out, recording a podcast. So thank you guys for joining us online. And I got Dennis here.
Hey.
I've got Ed here. And I got your buddy, the host, Dustin Warncke. And we're rocking it, man. This is going to be a lot of fun. So, besides the regular weekend that we have, it has been pretty crazy weather this weekend, hasn't it?
Yeah. Storms moving through. A little exciting out on the water a little bit ago, too.
Tornado watch. I mean, this is pretty crazy for Central Texas, but I mean, it's just kind of a ebb and flow of stuff at these kind of events, and it's great. So, Ed, you haven't been on the show before. Dennis, you have. Ed, and you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm from Gatesville, Texas. Been with the Freshwater Outfitters now for about 3 years. This will be my 4th event here. Looking forward to our Conroe event coming up. And I enjoy these guys. I love all of them. I love God. So I enjoy doing this with the soldiers.
Cool. No, that's great. That's good to hear. Dennis, give us a background on yourself real quick.
Yeah, so I've been with Freshwater Outfitters since December 2013.
Yes.
That was the wind chill below zero event, if I remember right.
I remember that well.
Yeah, like Ed, I love God, I love serving, and I love being able to give back to these soldiers and families who sacrifice so much for us to be able to do what it is that we do.
Right.
It's kind of an amazing feedback loop we can close.
Right.
We bless them, they bless us, we bless them, they bless us, and it just keeps going, right?
Right, exactly. So, what we do at these events, we talked about this back in April in our last show that we did live, kind of remote show before iCast, is basically, serve those who have served us, which is important. There are a lot of other organizations out there that do that, but nobody that does it quite like we do, right?
Right, yeah.
As Freshwater Outfitters. So anyway, that's kind of cool. And I was blessed this morning to receive an award from Fort Hood that was given to me, and I'm just thank you.
Congratulations, my
I'm
man.
just very blessed to be here, and just very blessed to have that opportunity to receive something like that. I'm very honored. So yeah, man, I appreciate y'all thinking about me like that. So anyway, fishing right now. Been doing much of it, either of you?
Yeah, we caught 4 over 10 pounds earlier. And
Right, today?
today, and 3 under.
And we're talking
10 pounds.
catfish, obviously.
Catfish,
Yeah. 4 over 10 pounds is a pretty good day out here.
Yeah.
A couple gars.
Yeah, it's a good day.
Yeah, it's a good day.
It's been the weekend of big fish.
Yeah.
Right.
Not many fish getting caught, but the ones we're catching are all fairly sizable.
So here we normally have numbers. At Conroe, we normally have size and numbers.
Yeah.
But here, and then Buchanan, it's kind of a mixed bag. But here, it's kind of a grind this weekend. But the sizes that we're catching are bigger. And I think part of that is the management of the lake, where you're getting things that, letting fish go and letting the bigger ones breed and so on and so forth. And I think that's paying off. I mean, I can't say it's all our doing, but
Why not?
so I can't say it's all our doing, but I mean, I can say that it's beneficial, to that kind of means. So
Sure, yeah. One of the things I've always admired about Texas Parks and Wildlife is they're not playing the short game. They're playing the long game most of the time. So they're thinking about things like, what is this lake going to look like
Right.
in 5 years, 10 years?
right.
So I would agree they do a pretty good job of that management wise.
Yeah, and there's some people that get Texas Fish and Game mixed up with Texas Parks and Wildlife, which is our federal, agency, or our state government agency for our fish and game.
Did I just do that?
No, I just said in general. A lot of people hear Texas Fish and Game and they think, oh yeah, for sure, that must mean it's a state, but it's really not. We're our own private magazine and podcast. But the thing that I think you're right about, that a lot of that started to pay off now in a lot of ways. You guys are both big bass fishermen. So, what you throw in this time of year, and Ed, why don't you go first?
Well, I'll let Dennis. Go ahead, Dennis.
Get all the scoop on Dennis first.
Well, usually this time of year, I'd be coming out of chasing the white bass schools around and throwing slabs at them.
I'm sorry.
Okay. I'd be coming out of the summer pattern. Now you can start to. I'll tell you, we found the largemouth out on Main Lake Points yesterday, so they haven't moved back into creeks yet.
That's right. You fished largemouth yesterday. Okay.
Yeah. Blue seemed to be the color that worked. Ordinarily, I throw a green pumpkin, as you know, but blue seemed to work for us yesterday.
You're throwing a mega crawl again?
I was throwing the Rage Craw.
The Rage Crawl. That's
yeah, the guest on my boat was throwing a blue Cinco, and he actually caught more than I did. So
wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, both of them Texas rigged, but yeah, the fish they're moving up, but they're not back into creeks yet. So you'll find them shallow on Main Lake Points. At least that's where they're at now.
Well, possibly when this show airs, that's going to be more of a pattern, like Matt Williams said on our show the other day. They're basically going to be moving to the backs of creeks, and that's the case on Allen Henry. That's the case on on a lot of these larger lakes. And Belton's not a small lake, but it's not a huge lake either. It's not Toledo, Bend, or Rayburn, but yeah. So that's good. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, basically the points, the more shallow water right now, I use the blue Cinco.
The blue Cinco? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to just cheat off of what he said.
No,
right? No, I'm just kidding.
I actually, when I do, that's normally what I start with.
Blue Cinco? Okay.
Yeah, and usually do pretty well.
Cool.
Yep.
Oh, that's good. That's real good. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much to do in the outdoors this time of year. I mean, obviously it's hunting season, so a lot of people are out doing that.
Yes.
I just recently, I haven't talked about this on the show yet because I was still in the process of doing it on the last podcast, but I hunted hogs with my second cousin, Michael Warncke, and he brought some family down to Texas to hunt a DB hunting ranch, which is one of the ranches I work for doing marketing and sales. And it was a challenging hunt because it rained in the middle of it, and we could get in, but we could not get out.
Yeah.
It was an interesting outdoor adventure for sure, because the mud, just sinks down to your ankles, and it's just that miserable feeling in the bottom of your stomach,
Yeah, no, totally.
Did you get anything?
I didn't, but they got a nice boar, a nice big boar. So, so somebody's trying to call me on my Facebook feed. But anyway, so yeah, that's what's going on there. But yeah, it's been a great, it's just great to get out in the outdoors. Doesn't matter if you're hunting or fishing, whatever. I try to make these shows kind of binary, whether they're hunting or fishing, and that's when I kind of wanted to combine the two. Because you two have an interest in the outdoors, and the ministry that we do at Freshwater, which I know I've talked about on the show before, but we really seek to impact lives and really, change men through the outdoors and change families' dynamics through the outdoors. Isn't that right?
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be surprised at something about being in the outdoors gives you the opportunity to kind of reflect,
right,
and look at yourself in this introspective way. And I can't quite explain it. It does. It's difficult. It's difficult to explain, but it just does that. And when you get people out there, it gives them the opportunity to really hear the message,
yes,
and understand it and connect to how it would impact their lives.
Right. Which is one thing we try to do. The one thing we don't do as an organization, faith-based organization, is beat people over the head with it.
Right.
We let people, I don't want to say the word buy into it spiritually, but I'm just saying we let people dive into it spiritually instead of it being, something. So I just wanted to highlight what the organization does because there's a lot of good things. So
Yeah, I think we show them by our actions.
Right. By our connection, our energy, all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So the pattern these weeks for catfish is we're using live shad, cut shad out here, right?
Yeah, cut shad is what we're using. I think most of the fish are getting caught in the 20-foot range, something like that. and like I said, it's big fish. We've caught a few. We've had a few throwbacks too. So there are baby catfish running around out there. But yeah, big fish are biting.
It's beneficial to see when you've got a fishery that has kind of everything at every column of the spectrum when it comes to size. So now we're starting to see big fish, but years ago all we caught was little eaters out here, and that was all that there was. So I mean, I think, like I say, good management has helped us have bigger catfish, and also the weather being as stinky as it is right now out here has helped. You know,
Yeah.
I would say so too. So.
I don't remember us catching
The
14
size.
pounders
Yeah.
in one day anytime before. We had 2 on one jug, over 2.
We had 2 10-pounders on one jug, and yeah, like Ed said, you know, we might hear about a couple of 10-pounders being caught through the course of the weekend, but this weekend's been phenomenal. Yeah, not like what we're doing now.
No, that's great. That's great. Ideas on jug fishing, guys. 3 hooks, no more. I talked about that on the last show I did with Matt Williams. 3 hooks, not 5, even though the state allows you to do 5.
3.
And easy way to fill up the boat with a lot of fish. We're having a fish Friday night, so that's one of the things that we do.
Yeah, and the cool thing about it too is, especially if you have people on board who on your boat who don't fish a lot,
Right.
you know, it's a good way to make sure that you get some fish on board somehow. You can go out, throw your jug, on a weekend where we're not serving, you know, you can still do the same thing. You go out, put your jugs out, then go maybe fish for some crappie or go fish for some bass. Come back, check your jugs. Go out, do some more fishing. Come back, check your jugs, and you're almost guaranteed to have some fish.
Right.
So it's a great way to introduce people to fishing or get people to get in on the action when they don't fish very often.
You can show them the basics, how to take a fish off the hook.
Yes,
You know, and things,
absolutely.
how to bait a hook, things like that. So it's a good start for a lot of these.
It is, yeah. No, it's great. It's great to just introduce people to the sport, but then you can get into the more complicated things like hunting, you know, shooting the back of the creek, shooting docks, that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
The flipping, the casting, all that stuff that you get with rod and reel fishing. But jug fishing is just all around a great opportunity to connect with people. So that's why we do that. But so the catfish, any thoughts on? Have you been going after whites or anything like that lately, Dennis?
No, to be honest with you, I've been working on other projects, and up until this weekend, I had not fished in 5 months.
Okay. At least you fished yesterday, so you had something to talk about today,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But ordinarily, this is the time of the year where I would be just at the tail end of chasing around schools of white bass.
Right.
I saw a lot of activity out on mid-lake humps yesterday. We couldn't get any bites out of it. But
Were
it
you
was
slabbing, or what were y'all doing?
I was slabbing, yeah,
okay.
but it was right in the middle of the day, so it probably wasn't the ideal time to be doing that. But yeah, this is about the time where I would be transitioning off white bass and onto largemouth and smallmouth.
Right.
Yeah, we saw a bass tournament out here for high school kids.
That's right. That was this morning?
Yeah.
I saw the same thing.
We
Yeah.
saw a couple pull them.
Yeah.
They're
Some nice ones. Yeah, I saw some fishing off of our shore out here, and that's so nice to see, because there's so many people that, you know, talk about the next generation, but to actually see it in action, which we're all about, getting kids in the outdoors. But I mean, when you see a tournament that's basically around high school kids or college kids, whatever, the youth, and these kids are hooked on fishing for life. I mean, that's a really good thing to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I definitely wish I'd been able to do that when I was a kid. I came late to fishing, as you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool to see that.
Yeah, it is. I just think it's beneficial. So it's just one of those things that I think the more you're around it, the more you realize that the sport has a future. So I was going to talk about a controversial subject on here.
Oh, here we go.
And Ed's like, "What you got?"
Here we go.
Bassmaster and what's going on with Bassmaster and what's going on with and I did not warn y'all I was going to talk about this at all, and what's going on with Major League Fishing.
Yeah.
Now I am trying to stay fair and balanced on this, so I try not to have an opinion, but it's pretty big news.
Yeah. I had a feeling something like that might happen, because you look at the ratings that Major League Fishing gets, and you look at the exposure, and I figured that they might try to make a big move at some point. I didn't think it was going to be anything like this.
Right.
But so that kind of took me by surprise. But I'm not shocked to see the number of big names that are committed to it.
Right.
Yeah.
I talked about this in our last fishing show, but I mean, I just think it's interesting the trend that happened, because Bassmaster was that. I mean, it was all there was, for the longest time, and then to see it somebody like Major League Fishing grow like they have. I mean, it's just interesting. It's just interesting dynamics for the future of fishing, because it's opening up more of a playing field now for younger anglers to get involved and make their name, in the industry.
Yeah, and here's the thing about it is those guys, especially the real big name guys, your guys like Kevin Van Dam
Right.
and those guys. They're not living and dying by tournament winnings. They're living and dying by sponsorship money, and so
That needed to be said. Yes,
yeah,
correct.
so the more exposure you give those guys, the better it is for them, because they can attract sponsors and more dollars from sponsors doing that. So it's kind of a perfect storm. Major League Fishing provides all that for them, and I think you might even make an argument. I don't know if I would make this argument, but I think it's a good topic for discussion. Bassmaster maybe kind of got caught with their pants down because they're a little behind the times when it comes to that stuff.
They weren't expecting something like this to happen, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, they've only just recently gotten into streaming their coverage online. FLW was miles ahead of them on that.
Yes.
And then here comes Major League Fishing, and basically that outdoor channel runs off Major League Fishing.
Right.
You got hours. I mean, they expand. You just watch the expansion of the program. As a 1-hour program once a week, then it's a 2-hour program.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden they've gone from one tournament to 3 tournaments a year.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of. You can see as you look back on it now. You can kind of see the roadmap of what was coming up.
Right.
But, I think Bassmaster kind of got caught there, and it'll be interesting to see how or if they can respond to it.
Well, it's just an outdoor subject that I think needs to be discussed, because I mean the implications of what it means to the future of sport fishing. But the thought there is that it widens up the field for the sport to grow even more.
Yeah.
I mean that's all I'm saying. What do you think, Ed?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the best thing to do. I mean, you look at other sports, bowling or golf or anything. They all have other venues to get people known into
Right.
fishing and to get kids into fishing. So I think it's the best thing to do.
Okay. No, that's good. That's good to. I didn't mean to spring that on
No,
you,
no.
but I thought I'd at least do something that would be a little somewhat controversial.
I think
so.
the more advertisement you get on a sport, the
It just it all work in advertising, it just kind of puts the sponsors in a vicarious position in some way, because they've already spent all their money on these big pros, but then these newer guys come in and they need funding too. I mean, it all works off of ad sales pretty much, or sponsorship sales. So
Yeah, the one thing I kind of fear is at some point, bass fishing or fishing, fishing as a spectator sport or as a sport in general has kind of undergone this this rapid growth over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes.
It takes me back to the period of NASCAR right around the early 2000s,
Sure.
where there was this huge growth explosion. And NASCAR has since kind of contracted a little bit.
Yeah,
It doesn't, and so I wonder what will happen if the same thing happens with bass fishing. Do one of these tournament trails then fall by the wayside?
Right.
I'd be interested to see how they position themselves for that eventual contraction.
right, because there's room now there.
Yeah.
A lot of room, with a lot of the folks. So anyway, I didn't want everybody to get all up in arms about it. I just kind of think it's interesting. That's all. It just kind of is one of the things that has been awfully, newsworthy lately, I guess is a better word, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any strong feelings about it one way or the other. I kind of look at it from a pretty sterile standpoint, right? It's interesting. It's cool to watch. I've watched Major League Fishing. I've also watched Bassmaster coverage. I watched FLW coverage. I don't like or dislike any one more than the other.
Right.
But it will be interesting to see how it plays out over the course of the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. No, it'll be good. So basically, I don't talk a lot about boat stuff, but you guys are both boat guys like I am, and I don't even own my own boat, but I mean I'm on a lot of y'all's boats. What are some good things to keep in mind this time of year for winterizing, or just what are y'all using now? I mean, what do y'all?
I'm a bad guy to ask. I don't winterize my boat.
You don't winterize your boat? Okay, cool.
You know how I winterize my boat? I take it out and go fishing.
Go fishing. So, I mean, that's a nice thing. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, we go out again in December for one of these, and so we really don't winterize them. I mean, I don't even know if I know how to winterize.
Right. I mean,
I assume it's the same as
there's additives and stuff you use, but the thing about Texas that's so unique about us
you never know.
is that we may have a mild winter, we may have a solid cold winter, but the nice thing is we can always fish. I mean, the lakes don't ice over, not like the north. Nothing against people that are ice fishing, but at the same time, it's really cool to get out there and grind in the winter. Which I've done with you in December. I've done with with both of y'all before. And both of y'all are avid bass fishermen, so I would just like to ask that, because if you don't winterize because you're fishing all the time, your boat's in really good shape. For the most part.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
my understanding. So.
The only thing I do is if I know a hard freeze is coming, I'll make sure that I don't have any water left in the boat or anything like that. But
It's just good maintenance stuff.
yeah.
And our magazine has Lenny Rudow, I don't know how to say his last name, I still haven't realized, but he writes for our Houston Boat Show article magazine that we do every year, and then he writes a boating column for the magazine. And, he also writes a lot of our web stuff, so he has a lot of how-to stuff on things that are big in the outdoors. One of the things that I thought was interesting that I was talking to one of our guys, Dallas, about is Power Pole has the blade, Power Pole shallow water anchor. He says that they're one of the things that he noticed about them is they have a fantastic warranty if defective parts and stuff like that. They're one of our advertisers, so I wanted to give them a plug on this show. It's one of the things, they have a new system called the remote control for the actual boat, the shallow water anchors is a remote control for it. But there's also, this is really interesting, a charge system which basically manages the power, runs your pumps and stuff like that at lower battery capacity, so it saves your battery and that's cool. Talk about batteries. Yeah, there's my battery on my phone. But anyway, it talks about basically the whole thought on that, as far as the whole thought on that being that it manages your battery power to make your batteries last longer throughout the day, which is important for if you're bass fishing, you're really giving it a hard try. And then it's also big about, they have the other thing called the Vision, which is their whole remote control system that's on and this is good for you, the Android guy. You and I are both iPhone guys, but the Vision is basically a whole Android platform tablet that mounts on your dashboard and controls everything on your boat electronically. I mean, it's not cheap, but I mean the technology is not coming; it's already here.
Yeah, and the more electronics we pile on our boat, the more important the battery management is.
Right. That's my point, I guess. So yeah, that's really good. So, anything else to add, guys? I don't want to keep y'all too much longer. We got to go clean fish now.
Yeah, we got to go clean.
We got to go get that all set up pretty soon.
No, I appreciate you having us on here.
Well, thanks a lot. I know you listen to the show, and Dennis, and I know you listen to the show too. So
appreciate the
I'm
opportunity.
avid fans of y'all's both as well. So
We evidently need to read the boat maintenance part of the magazine, because we don't do that.
Yeah, the boat maintenance part. I mean, it's just about general boating stuff, and it's really a cool part of the magazine. I just wanted to bring people's attention to.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, I need some of your sponsors or your readers to teach me about boat maintenance.
yeah, exactly.
We evidently
I
need
probably
that,
shouldn't have brought that up on this particular
because
show.
we didn't
Anyway.
answer you very well.
That's okay. But I mean, that was what I kind of sprung on you last minute without telling you.
You're like,
I don't know. But ideally, like on our older, I used to own a boat. I mean, running the gas out of it,
gas out of
that
it,
kind of
make
stuff.
sure your lines are
Making
dry.
sure your lines are dry,
Yeah.
making sure stuff like that. I just want to talk about it because with the winter season and stuff like that, taking your boat out. I mean, colder is going to be different than warmer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
wanted to bring that up. So anyway, but
That's right.
thank you guys so much for watching, reading, listening, and appreciate you guys being on the show.
Thanks, Dustin.
Thanks, Dustin.
Appreciate it.
And there those gentlemen go. Fantastic men of God, I'm telling you. Guys that are really good Christian men. Great fishermen, great outdoorsmen, great outdoor lifestyle guys that really, spread the message of hope and love and everything like that we do at Freshwater Outfitters. And I'm just blown away at how knowledgeable they are, and then how much fun we have on this show. So anyway, I just really appreciate them both being a part of the podcast. I know they're listening, so thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Ed. They're both regular listeners to the podcast as well, which is really cool, and there's lots of fun there. So I'm just going to end with these closing thoughts here, if I might. One of the things that is impacted me in the work that I do, in the ministry work that I do in the outdoors, is the changes you make in your own life to reflect and impact other people and the changes they make in their life. And what I mean by that is doing more with your time and your job and your priorities and everything like that, to shift things around and make time for people that need you, for people that need help, for people that need uplifting, message, people that need a smile, people that need a hug, that kind of stuff. So I'm not trying to get too mushy here, but what I'm trying to say is kind of like the old saying, and I talked about this on my Facebook video this week before this podcast went live. The greatest change you can have in your life is helping change somebody else's life for the better. And what I really mean to say is Gandhi is attributed to saying this, but I don't think it was really him that said it, but be the change that you want to see in the world. And for me, that's conservation. For me, that's getting kids involved in the outdoors. For me, that's giving back to our veterans like we do at Freshwater Outfitters. For me, that's a lot of different things. And that's why I'm one of the busiest people you'll meet, because I'm constantly running around trying to make a difference. And that's the main thing that I took from this Evangelical Lutheran Church in America youth gathering that we had back this past summer. The youth came back to our church basically with the message of, I want my life to make a difference. I want my life to make a change. And rather than just going through the motions, which so many of us are found doing these days in Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat and everywhere else, and we're just kind of like, woe is me, and this is bad happened, whatever. I'm all about uplifting people. So if you've not done so already, check out my Facebook page, but my personal Facebook profile, Dustin Warncke, Warncke. That is free, and I keep that open to basically get friend requests from anybody in the nation that wants to connect. But basically, I put out on my last video that I did the week before this airs that, it's one of those things where it's really hard on my heart to not give abundantly, to not give back, because I've been been blessed by so many people. I'm blessed to be a blessing is what I'm trying to say. And that's what I said in my speech. So my devotion and speech from the Freshwater Outfitters weekend is up there on Facebook and on the Freshwater Outfitters Facebook page. You can go check that out. It's about 20 minutes, I guess I spoke. And basically just talking about the new normal and transitions in life and how to handle those, the kind of the practical and tactical way to engage with those things and the struggles that we all face. And it's one of those things I've said on my videos before. Pain is mandatory. We all go through pain. Misery is optional. And so that all being said, the outdoors is just a great opportunity to give back. There's a great opportunity to make a difference in the animals' lives and the fish and just the fish and wildlife lives that you impact, as far as catch and release goes, as far as, passing on those younger bucks, passing on some of the other things that a lot of times we're inclined to shoot, letting go the big catfish, and that kind of stuff. That's going to ensure that people down the road get the same value and the opportunity that you had to enjoy those things. So I'm always big about conservation. One of the reasons is Chester Moore, editor-in-chief, is really big about that too. But my whole point is that you have the opportunity in your life to make a difference in some even small way, make a difference for the greater good of the environment, for the greater good of wildlife, for fish, of the outdoors in general, picking up trash. I mean, it could be just a numerous amount of things. But basically, that's what I wanted to put on your hearts this week to at least think about is, and I've said it many times in this podcast before, the purpose of influence is to help those who have none. Our fish and wildlife have no influence except for what the humans basically will give them, as far as the influence of conservation and making sure that this whole thing stays there for the next generation of hunters, fishermen, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of a general outdoor podcast. Obviously, we talk about fishing, but I really just enjoy having the opportunity to talk with all you guys and visit with you and just do this show, and just really blessed to be a blessing, and just thank you guys so much for tuning in and checking out the show this week. So if you've not done so already, again, I said at the beginning of the show, please subscribe, do all that stuff. It does not cost you anything to get new shows every 2 weeks. And we just have a fantastic, this is cathartic for me. What I mean by that is it's therapeutic. This is so enlivening for me. It is so such a purpose and meaning of life kind of thing for me to do this show, to impact you, to go impact other people, to give you, hope and inspiration in the outdoor lifestyle in spoonfuls, I should say, to go out and impact other people for the better. So if you're not giving back in your life, find some way to give back. The Hunters for the Hungry, we're in the middle of hunting season right now. Hunters for the Hungry is a big program right now that's really in full swing, that the state of Texas partners with, and they've got some great opportunities for you to donate your deer meat if you're a deer hunter at all, or donate your any of your exotic meat, any of your exotic things from the freezer that's already been processed. A lot of times the food bank I know here in the area will already take readily processed meat from a confirmed meat processor, and basically turn around and give that to people that are in need. So there's just a lot of ways you can plug into your community locally and outside of your local community as well, as far as giving monetary donations, and just really help out other people. So that's one thing I want this podcast to be about. And I thank you guys so much again for watching, reading, and listening. Have an awesome day in the outdoors. We'll see you next time.
I can't say it enough, I'm never giving it up. I just love it so much, I love fishing. Man, I love fishing, that's just what I do. I can't say it enough, I'm never giving it up. I just love it so much, I love fishing. Man, I love fishing, that's just what I do.